Hello, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to MzansiOz Diary. My name is Connie. If you're new here, you're very much welcome. So today we're going to look at this travel advice warning for travelers to Nigeria and other countries who are from Australia. So Australia has issued a couple of travel advice for its citizens who are traveling. As you all know, most Australians do travel to different countries. And that is really important for our government to be able to make sure that Australian citizens are safe when they're traveling to these countries. They've issued a travel advice and warning for Australian citizens to warn them to not to reconsider the travel to Nigeria. So let's have a look at this travel advice. So Australia always offer travel advice to its citizens.
Australians visiting the UK are being urged to exercise a high degree of caution. It comes after days of violent rioting across multiple cities in the wake of the Southport stabbing that killed 3 young girls. Travellers are advised to avoid areas where protests are happening, including Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool and Belfast.
So this year it issued a travel advice to Nigeria. So Nigeria has been upset. It's upset about Australia's travel advice. So as you can see here, if you go to the smart travel advice, you go to Nigeria, click on that. You can see this is what the advice is. So this is an advice that was issued on the 9th, was still current up to today. So this is very live because they update it more frequently. So it was updated on the 20th of December 2024. So they continue to advise the Australians who are traveling to Nigeria due to threat of terrorism, kidnapping, violent crime, and the risk of civil unrest. So the Australian government strongly advised that Australian citizens to reconsider you need to travel to Nigeria overall due to volatile security situation and threat of terrorism, kidnapping, violent crime, and the risk of civil unrest. So it's high levels apply. So this is a high level apply. So you can see, so it's actually even, so saying here the advice level, it gives you this one is high. So people, Australians are not allowed to travel to these cities. You see these one in red, these ones, and also here about avoid non-essential travel, even to capital city Abuja. So these are the warnings that are issued by Australian government to Australian citizens. So this is something that Australia does all the time. It's nothing new here. And I think this is something that South Africa should do. All countries should do, because you don't want to be in a situation where your citizens are stuck or someone traveled to Nigeria and then died for mysterious reasons, like the story that has been circulating in the media, on social media, about this young woman from Cape Town that went and visited a boyfriend allegedly. She then, went on date with that boyfriend. She was seen on social media, and then suddenly she died mysteriously, allegedly from malaria. So travel advice is important because it provides citizens actually have to assess the risk for themselves. What is the level of risk? Whether they want to take that risk. Travel advice is an advice. Government can't, stop you from traveling. But when you're stuck there, and you can't blame your government for not issuing those advice. So a country like South Africa should be doing this because of the risk that I'm seeing that's happening in South Africa. Even when South Africans travel to some of these countries, not just Nigeria, other countries that are unsafe for them. It's part of government's role is to safeguard the citizens, ensure citizens are safe. So it's nothing. You can see that even issued travel exercise high degree of caution. Reconsider travel for Nigeria is like do not travel. at the moment. So do not travel Niger, do not travel Nigeria, reconsider your travel to Nigeria, go to Cameroon. So there's heaps of countries that Australia has deemed this country to be at risk for its citizens when they travel over there. Some of that could do with the laws of the countries, not accepting certain people who are LGBTQ plus group, or any inhumane things that may happen for its citizens. So it's important that the government issued this advice. But Nigeria has actually reacted in a childish manner. I thought that statement issued by Nigerians warning its citizens was a joke. I actually thought that statement was a joke. Really a joke. Anyway, let's listen to it again.
And now turning to West Africa, where Nigeria has issued a travel advisory for its citizens planning to travel to Australia. Nigeria has cautioned its citizens planning to visit Australia to exercise heightened vigilance due to an uptick in reports of harassment and discrimination against foreigners in the country. In a statement released on social media, Nigeria's foreign ministry said that there was a surge in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic hate crimes in Australia. It warned that surging cases had increased the risk of violence against foreigners. It advised its citizens to be mindful of the prevailing cultural and social dynamics to ensure their safety in the country. Now back to its claims, Nigeria particularly highlighted an incident from December of 2024 in a suburb in Australia's Sydney, where a car was set ablaze and anti-Israel graffiti was sprayed on the buildings nearby. But Nigeria's advisory to its citizens seemed more of a retaliation toward Australia. It came just days after Australia issued a similar warning to its citizens against visiting Nigeria. On the 20th of December, the Australian government published an advisory cautioning its citizens to reconsider their travel to Nigeria. This was due to growing terrorism, acts of kidnappings, increasing civil unrest, and crimes in the West African country. Of the 36 states in Nigeria, the Australian authorities labelled at least 24 states as places that its citizens should not travel to. That included states such as Borno, Delta, Gombe, Kaduna, Kano, Niger, River, and Sokoto, among others. Now, the Australian government also cautioned its citizens against public displays of affection and cross-dressing in Nigeria, as the West African country had strict laws against same-sex relationships. So, in such a situation, it seemed only relevant for Nigeria to caution its own citizens too. However, some observers found Nigeria's response contradictory. They said that Nigeria highlighted only a standalone incident in its warning, while condemning Australia for its multiculturalism and tolerance. They further said that the 2024 Global Peace Index rankings painted a very different image about Australia. Australia was ranked in the...
So they're condemning Australia about its multiculturalism, but that is actually something that is in South Africa. That's why I've always said to you, all South Africans, that the issue that you have with many of Nigerians, many of Africans in South Africa, it's not to do with this xenophobia that the elites claim. It is the issue of culture. It's the issue of culture. It's the clash of culture. That's all they have. It's a problem until these people acknowledge and realize that underneath all of these issues that you have with foreign nationals in South Africa, including some Nigerians, it is to do with cultural clash. They come from society where, if someone has disability, they need to be locked up, not be seen and heard. If someone has a certain religion, they need to be arrested. If someone is not religious, So there is a huge human rights violation in Nigeria. It's extraordinary, even with people LGBTQ plus. So, and then they come to South Africa where there is, rights for everyone, including people who are LGBTQ plus community. South Africa is one of the fourth countries to legalize same-sex marriage in 2006. Number 4 countries to do so because of South African constitution. So they don't have any rights to even to criticize their government. They can't even criticize their own government. That's why they on social media, you see them talking about South Africa, you see them talking about other countries. They don't talk about the issues that they're facing in their own countries, because if they did, they would be arrested. If they did, they would face some kind of repercussion. So when they move to liberal countries like South Africa, they have not, experienced how it's like to be free, and they feel a bit jealous. Some of them, they do feel jealous because they don't have those rights in their own countries. They don't. I meet a lot of them here, but because some of them don't even travel to your countries. They've never been to Nigeria. They've never, because they don't want to, yeah. So I just feel like the statement was a bit, childish from Nigerian government, because if we were to compare Australia with Nigeria, I mean, there's not even a comparison here. It's like an apple and oranges, to be honest, because of the issues that most Nigerians are the one that go on the boats and take the journey to go to Europe. They wouldn't be doing that if that country was free for all. That country had liberal values that recognize multiculturalism, that recognize everyone has a right. It's not just your own rights, it's for everyone. Okay, I'll just show a few clips of scenarios that have occurred in Nigeria that actually very much alarming to me, because I feel like people who are going on about this Pan-Africanism, that you need to demonstrate that in your own country. First of all, I'll be happy to see Pan-Africanism be something that is demonstrated in your country. If you feel like you're Pan-Africanism, just let's have a look at how you treat your fellow citizens, how you treat your fellow citizens in your own country, how you treat your children, how you treat women in your country. That would actually, give me some insight into thinking that, maybe Pan-Africanism is actually a reality. Something is not like a scam, like Mabahambe, because I believe even Mabahambe from PA, it's a scam. You cannot have Mabahambe without changing the South African constitution. I mean, it's a dumb thing. Even with Dr. Leon Schreiber going on and doing this deportation and say rule of law, mate, you can't do that without having a legislative change around immigration in South Africa. And you also cannot have that any legislative change, immigration law changing that is actually against the South African constitution. So the constitution of South Africa remains a barrier to a lot of things that are happening in South Africa. I mean, if the constitution itself doesn't recognize South African citizens, doesn't recognize that South African citizens needs to be protected, are the one that need access to healthcare, housing, is not human being, is South African citizen, that South Africa as a country belongs to South African citizens. If that constitution still says to everyone is going to come in there and think that they actually are part of South Africa. That's why you are having so much problem in South Africa. And no one can ever solve this immigration problem without changing South African constitution, without making sure that the language in that constitution is tight enough that there would be no one else's who can come in and try to muck around with it. that the then minister can be able to amend certain things as the threats come along. At the moment, you just haven't got any protection. I'm sorry to break it to you, South Africans, you haven't got any protection. That constitution doesn't protect you all, does not protect you all at all. Hence, you're seeing all this problem. I'm not convinced. And anyway, comment below if you think that this segment, what do you think about this segment? Also, just what do you think in general about this threat issued by Nigerian government telling the citizen not to travel to Australia? Oh my God, that is so dumb. So dumb. I mean, to be honest, how many people take their lives from Nigeria on the boat to Europe? Why would you even jump on the boat and go to Europe? You think these people would, because they want to escape. They're escaping the stuff in there. They're escaping because they haven't got the true democracy.
19th position out of 163 countries, while Nigeria was ranked in the 147th position. But with this new cautionary advice to its citizens, concerns are emerging on whether there are tensions brewing in an otherwise stable diplomatic relation between Nigeria and Australia.
After 4 years in prison on blasphemy charges, Mubarak Bala, a prominent Nigerian atheist and religious critic, has been released.
What's going through your mind right now?
Everything is new to me.
Mubarak is well known for his criticism of Islam and religion in general, which he frequently shared on social media. A controversial Facebook post in 2020 outraged many and led to his arrest after a group of lawyers filed a complaint with the police. After 2 years in prison awaiting trial, Mubarak was convicted of insulting religion with the intent of breaching the peace, an offence under Section 210 of the Kano State Penal Code. He was sentenced to 24 years in prison after pleading guilty to 18 counts against him. Mubarak's legal team say they believe he's still in danger, so he's being housed in a secure location, where he has his first meal as a free man.
Nigerian.
The Lagos State Police Command has neutralized 9 kidnappers who were allegedly terrorizing various areas across the state. The police spokesman, Benjamin Hunday, told journalists today that having trailed the alleged kidnappers after reliable intelligence, they were caught unawares and engaged the police in a gun duel where 9 of them were neutralized. 2 of the kidnappers are said to have escaped while ammunition were recovered from them.
Upon receipt of this intelligence about 2 weeks ago, CP Fayode directed the command's tactical teams to commence work on it. They followed up closely, monitored dutifully, and were able to determine that the gang was going to strike in Ladipo area of Lagos State. With the benefit of this information, we were able to proactively prepare for them and more or less laid an ambush for them. The kidnappers who were caught unawares would not give up easily as they engaged the police officers in a shootout. They, of course, vowed to the superior firepower of the police. 9 of them were neutralized, while 2 escaped with gunshot injuries. 4 AK-47 rifles, 4 locally made semi-automatic pistols, 9 AK-47 magazines, 3 walkie-talkies, 1 POS machine, and a loudspeaker were recovered from them. Also recovered, there are 2 operational vehicles, 1 black Toyota 4Runner and a blue Lexus RX 350. Meanwhile, investigations are ongoing to arrest the fleeing suspects.